Howdy, how is everyone? It is the first Sunday in January. Crazy, in 2025, I should say. And it's kind of crazy that we're in 2025. And then not that crazy because it's just another day in progress, right? But just stopping to pause. I really loved the last week of the year and the first week of the year until life starts again, I guess, tomorrow. It's a slow down pause that I look forward to every year. Bye. Going to a meeting? Oh yeah. Okay, bye. Okay. My husband has a church meeting. I don't remember what it is. Anyway, so last time we ended up with we finished up the testimony of Joseph Smith. I find it to be very powerful, and hopefully you got some worth out of some of the things maybe that I might have said, but not through me or because of me, but because of the Spirit that hopefully joined with us as we talked together about that. So I'm just going to dive right in, as they say. So this part is not part of the original transcript. It's just a brief explanation about the Book of Mormon. So it begins, the Book of Mormon is a sacred record of peoples in ancient America and was engraved upon metal plates. Sources from which this record were compiled include the following. I used to think this stuff was boring. I would skip over it. I didn't know why it was there or why it mattered to me because I just wanted to read the contents. And sometimes I still just want to read the context, to be honest. But there are times when I have questions or time when I slow down and read things like this, and then I realize, at least for me in that moment as I'm reading them, they add power to me, to my understanding, and to what I'm actually reading. It brings them more to life and reminds me that these are literal plates that were found under a rock in New York State that had been buried there by somebody who carried them around and engraved in them and compiled other engravings from other people who carried them around for hundreds of years. And this reminds me that there have been a lot of people on this earth and a lot of history and a lot of things that have happened. And people really kept record. And records are meant to be kept for a reason. And how cool that some of them actually get found and translated and used for our benefit. And just as we go and read along, and my own personal belief through learning, but also my own personal pondering and revelation, I guess, personal revelation, is that those records that were carried around by prophets for all those hundreds of years, they weren't doing that for their people. Otherwise, I don't know if they would have tried to preserve them, but they were written for today and guided by the Lord to be both protected and brought forth and translated and put into our hands. And it just gives me that perspective, and it's really cool. So these aren't reading glasses, they are blue light glasses. And so they're wigging my eyes out a little bit. So I'm going to just take them off because I want to read. It doesn't matter. Okay. The plates of Nephi. So it just said the sources of the record were as follows. The plates of Nephi, which were of two kinds. They had small plates and larger plates. The former were more particularly devoted to spiritual matters and the ministry and teachings of the prophets, while the latter were occupied mostly by a secular history of the peoples concerned in those chapters. From the time Mosiah From the time of Mosiah, however, the large plates also included items of major spiritual importance. So we learn later, like, the significance of those smaller plates as well. But in the beginning, in First Nephi, um, and the Nephites, well, at least First Nephi, maybe First and Second Nephi, they were only the large plates were only for history, and the small plates were for sacred things. And then later, from Mosiah on, which is a book that's one of the first few books in the Book of Mormon, they also became spiritual matters as well as historical matters. They were combined. Maybe after the small plates were filled. I mean, that makes sense to me. The plates of Mormon, which consist of an abridgment of Mormon from the large plates of Nephi with many commentaries. These plates are also contained. I don't know what's going on with my eyes. I do. I've got some, can't tell. I've got some stuff going on health-wise, and it is kind of making my eyes a little wiggy. So, which is why I tried to wear the glasses. Well, I'm not really good at wearing glasses yet, and I don't know where the reading ones are. So I'm not going to try and worry about it, but I'm having a hard time focusing. So, okay. Let me start back at the Plates of Mormon. They consist of an abridgment by Mormon from the large plates of Nephi with many commentaries. So Mormon is commenting on those plates as he's abridging them. They also contain a continuation of the history by Mormon and additions by his son Moroni. Okay. The plates of Ether, which present a history of the Jaredites. This record was abridged by Moroni, who inserted comments of his own and incorporated the record with his general history under the title Book of Ether. So there were people called the Jaredites. They had plates of ether. They were later brought to Moroni, who then abridged them and inserted some of his comments into their record and also added them to, or there was also a general history of the people of Jared, and then those are contained in the Book of Ether, which we find later in the Book of Mormon. So the plates of brass brought by the people of Lehi from Jerusalem in 600 BC. So they actually brought those from Jerusalem with them, the Nephites that we talk about at the beginning of the book. They came from Jerusalem. They brought the plates of brass with them. So in the golden plates that became the Book of Mormon, the plates of brass are contained therein. These contain the 5 books of Moses and also a record from the Jews from the beginning down to the commencement of the reign of Zedekiah, king of Judah, and also the prophecies of the holy prophets. Many quotations from these plates citing Isaiah and other biblical and non-biblical prophets appear in the Book of Mormon. The Book of Mormon comprises 15 main parts or divisions, known, with one exception, as books, usually designated by